greatest of all time, the GOAT. With this word seeing such frequent usage and being thrown around left and right, does anyone stop and ever think, what exactly does it take to actually be the GOAT? On this week's episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show, the Breakdown crew sat down with two very special guests, Karan Davis and Larry the Wavy Fellow, to discuss what does it take to be the GOAT. Let's see what we came up with. Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to introduce to you our Black-owned Business of the Week, where we showcase quality Black-owned businesses for you to support each week. This week's business is the Wave Talk podcast, coming to you from one of today's guests, Larry the Wavy Fellow. On the Wave Talk podcast, it's all about giving back to the community and talking about issues within the culture while promoting underground talent. Season 2 of the Wave Talk podcast just began, so be sure to follow, subscribe, and give them a listen.
So the question we have for today, what does it take to be the GOAT? We also have special guests today. We have Karan Davis and we have Larry from the Wavy Talk podcast.
Hi, what does it take to be the GOAT? First off, I think what it takes to be the GOAT is, first is determination, of course, and intelligence on whatever you are working hard in, as far as basketball, rapping, or being an actor, even cooking. So you got to know it down to a science. And even after the fact, like off the court, like I say, like Michael Jordan.
On the court, he was still the most dominant figure in the game on the most dominant team.
You know, just as far as something. Because you got to be great on the court, but also to be able to go off the court and have a good brand and have a good name and be able to hold that name and brand for a long time makes you a GOAT or even close to a GOAT. So that's what I say.
I would agree. For definition, a GOAT is the person considered to be the best ever, compete, perform, or participate in a particular game or field. So, like, with that logic, with that definition, I'd have to go and say I'd cast my vote for LeBron James. I mean,
Jason Terry, good defense. Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, pull, James! Whoa!
Like he jumped out of the mezzanine to dunk this ball. That's sending it down with some power.
0.5 remaining. James for the win. It's good! LeBron James at the buzzer. Stuns the Chicago Bulls, and the series is tied at 2 games apiece.
I mean, Josh knows me. I've been a big LeBron James fan my whole life. But like you said, Larry, it's not just what you do on the court. It's also how you present yourself off the court. You know, he hasn't gotten in any, necessary trouble with the law. He even has a school that he puts out for underprivileged youth in Cleveland, Ohio, where he's from, or Akron, Ohio, rather, where he's from. And just looking at his stats, I mean, he's definitely one of the best to ever do it. Got a couple rings to show that because, people love to bring up the rings conversation.
The Miami Heat are once again NBA champions. LeBron James captures that elusive title he so desperately coveted.
So I would have to cast my vote for him for sure.
But if he didn't have the school and have certain certain endeavors of philanthropy, would you still consider him to be the greatest of all time?
Just by his statistics, it's tough to say. I think a lot of that goes hand in hand with it because it's like, how can you really say Jordan is the GOAT if it's not with the sneakers and it's not with the dunk contest and it's not with a lot of things that go with it. So with LeBron, I feel like one of his main images is that I like to give back to the community, and him being that standard and that pillar for society is just him modeling his image of being more than a basketball player and more of a, an actual person and an actual, he's a black man that lives in this culture. So he's not trying to put himself above that in a way.
I see. Typically, when I hear the word GOAT, it's usually confined to a certain scope. So you're referring to a single thing. So outside of his basketball career, so you might say he's the greatest of all time of basketball. Mm-hmm. And then so if you were just talking about the other things such as the school and philanthropy, maybe you talk about people who had opened up schools and had certain endeavors like that. But I hadn't really considered the fact of consolidating that all into one individual, because then at that point it becomes difficult to differentiate and separate people across fields.
For sure.
That's a good explanation for how you chose to go about that. Dez with the chime in?
Yeah, I think my slightest rebuttal, and this rebuttal is going to be based off of my album of the day, so I won't, or album of the week. But in King's Disease, which is Nas's new album that just came out yesterday, or day before yesterday, one or two. I think it was the day before yesterday. But with you basing it off of philanthropy, one quote that caught my eye on this album, and the song 10 Points, and Nas says, Michael Jordan gives back to the community and you didn't know it, like LeBron does, but just seldomly shows it. That kind of goes, and it could be a very, very strong rebuttal against your argument of the GOAT aspect. Like, yeah, we know LeBron has a school. Yes, we know LeBron gives back, and he has his, uninterrupted, what is it? Their media outlet. But I'll also say at the same time, like, for me, a lot of being the GOAT isn't just the dedication, because everybody can have that dedication to their craft. It isn't just the 5 a.m. mornings, because everybody can have that dedication to the craft. I think a lot of being the GOAT is emotional intelligence, how you act in not just circumstances within your craft in itself, but your emotional intelligence to life as well. Like, of course, there's a lot of, skeletons in Michael Jordan's closet. I'm pretty sure there's skeletons with LeBron that we don't know about. But when it comes to those big game, decisions and those big game moments, like, I don't think anybody has surpassed Michael Jordan when it comes to the emotional intelligence aspect.
We're down to 5. Jordan putting moves on Russell. We're down to 2. Now to 1. Here's Jordan. Yes! It is all over. The Chicago Bulls have won at the buzzer in Game 1 of the best of 7 on the jump shot by Michael Jordan.
Like, the emotional intelligence is what breeds those clutch moments. And we have to remember, for a big part of LeBron's, career, the early part of the career, everybody cast that shadow of doubt over clutch moments, especially when they faced San Antonio back to back. And then, of course, that first series, or that first finals in Miami against Dallas. Like, those are big, big stains on his career. And of course, LeBron was strengthening his conversation of, you casting him as the GOAT could be how he bounced back, because of course we can never remove how an individual reacts to, certain circumstances. Like, his bounce back can label him the GOAT because he beat the 72-9 Warriors.
Time to celebrate a title. And the emotions for LeBron James, who delivers on his promise to come home and bring a championship to his beloved hometown.
His bounce back can label him as a GOAT because he took a Lakers franchise that was struggling and looking for, that guardian angel to take them back to their glory days and their winning ways. But nevertheless, when we look at Michael Jordan in itself, and you think back to how 88, 89, and 90, them getting their ass handed to him by the Pistons.
We tried to physically hurt Michael.
Jordan had no place to go. Robert.
How bad do you want it? Are you willing to be injured to score a basket?
When the Pistons want to make Jordan pay whenever he gets in the paint.
And not once did you really ever see him act out of character. Not once did you really see a sore loser in that aspect. And all he did was get better. I mean, he never had to switch teams to get better. They chose his skills to another player or whatever, because people just naturally feared him or either wanted to play with him. And that's just, qualities that you'll see today, but not as frequent. Like, case in point is what Giannis said a few years ago when LeBron invited him to work out. He was like, I'm not here, or I'm not in the league to work out with competition. I want to get better and I want to beat the competition. So it's just that, like, for me, I've already gave my answer, but it's the emotional intelligence. And to stray away from basketball, I was going to say the GOAT for me would be just Floyd Mayweather.
Mayweather, Hatton sticking to his desk, but gets drilled. Left hook drops him.
And then he hit his head off the turnbuckle for the 7 and 8. His eyes are clear, but his legs aren't there. The fight is over. Floyd Mayweather has stopped Ricky Hatton in the 10th round to retain the WBC and Ring Magazine welterweight championship of the world.
Like, aside from, I think the greatest tarnishment to his reputation is the what was it, early 2010s or late 2000s, where he went to jail for the domestic abuse scandal or domestic abuse situation. Like, I think that potentially tarnished his GOAT argument in comparison to Muhammad Ali or whoever else you want to throw into the pot. But I just, for me, Floyd Mayweather was a big proponent to me working out. Like, just to watch his dedication to his craft and to just see, you know, a black man who wasn't the most articulate, who wasn't the most intelligent, who didn't necessarily move the best way, changed the game, changed boxing forever. Like, a lot of your prize fights are the way they are because of Floyd Mayweather. Like, yeah, you can say, you know, Michael Jordan started the big contracts and this, that, and the third, but the way boxing is today is because of how Floyd Mayweather essentially said, we're removing the middleman. I'm now the middleman. You pay me, and then everything else goes from there. Like, your boxing just in general, just from the skill to the business aspect, like, you can't take that away from him. Like, he's head to head with Michael Jordan in my eyes as in the GOAT debate.
You broke up a little bit, Des, but you're saying that Floyd Mayweather is the GOAT because he improved the business for himself?
I'm saying Floyd Mayweather is the GOAT in regards to.
Oh, are you saying that Floyd Mayweather is the GOAT because he improved the business for himself?
Yeah. As far as, well, not even just the business aspect, but as far as like the dedication to craft, like what I constantly hear now is like people are saying that Floyd is still training like he's training for another fight. Like, just the dedication to the craft. Like, you'll see Michael Jordan playing, you know, basketball now, but you can obviously tell that Michael Jordan isn't in basketball ready shape. When you look at Floyd now, Floyd is still in boxing shape. Like, he'd probably go through a 3-month camp and then be ready to go, you know, a 12-round fight with no issue. So for me, yeah, I would say he's a GOAT, and I would say he's one of the greatest athletes.
But you had mentioned the emotional intelligence. So how does it relate to Floyd, if it does?
Well, what I would say with them emotional intelligence is Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. No matter how many times, even the biggest, I think, example for this is the Oscar De La Hoya fight, where he was just getting swarmed by De La Hoya, but he never strayed away from his game plan. And I mean, even if you want to say, you know, the Marquez fight, the first fight where, you know, undoubtedly Marquez landed more punches than Floyd did, but in the second fight, he came in and he tore Marquez apart.
Size and speed, you're seeing a mismatch of skill. And against Juan Manuel Marquez, that's saying something.
Like, that was the one thing. And even if you want to say, you know, Zab Judah, like, him and Zab Judah had a lot of bad blood leading up to that fight from the press conference. And then even during the fight, when it eventually led to Roger Mayweather getting suspended by the Las Vegas with the athletic commission or state athletic commission. Like, even during that fight, when a little scuffle broke out between the corners because Zab hit him low.
Oh, it's a low blow,
big low blow. I knew that was coming.
That was an extremely low shot. Mayweather does not appear able to put any weight on his left leg. Roger Mayweather and G.O.A.T Judah in the ring, a fight breaking out between the trainers. This is a horrible sight, Alan. One of the ugliest sights you'll ever see in boxing right here.
Like, he came back into the fight, not aiming to take off his man's head, but to say, all right, now I'm really about to show you who the master of the ring is. Like, he always stayed present in the moment and never really strayed away and made something emotional or responded emotional to where, like, all right, now I got to try and break you. Like, his when he said he was going to break you, he was going to do it in a way to prove he was a superior boxer. Not to say he could hit the hardest, not to say I got the knockout power, but to say when it comes to the sweet science of boxing, I'm going to break you down and I'm going to show who is the best undeniably and undoubtedly. Like, he would never put himself in a situation to where a 40-year-old Nowitzki beats you, 4-2 in the finals, or a young Kawhi. Like, you could easily compare LeBron and young Kawhi to Floyd and young Canelo. Like, there was never going to be a chance to where he was going to let the younger Wolf beat him. Like, there was no chance. He was always going to take you to school.
Josh, against a man with no losses.
Yeah.
Larry, you agree that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron?
All right. When it comes to that, that's like a sensitive topic for me because I like both of them. But growing up, I always said Michael Jordan is just the GOAT overall because if you actually looking at dedication, leadership, and overall sportsmanship and control over emotion, you would give that to Michael Jordan in my eyes, due to the fact that Michael Jordan, like he says, more aware, well controlled, and he was more determined. He didn't come around trying to make friends with everybody. Like, you can eat, like before the documentary came out, you can just tell that in his aura and his personality. You can just tell that by the way he played. He was mainly just trying to play to win. He was dedicated. He didn't even care. Like, he could, like the flu game.
He's like the Terminator. I mean, he went somewhere and he found a switch.
One play, and the Bulls actually have a chance to take the lead.
He was sick. He was sick. Still played, did his thing, won.
Straight away.
LeBron gets injured like every 5 games, and he sits out and watches them play and wanted to be a coach. You want to be a coach, you should have went to school for coaching. You're a basketball player, you can work through it. Kobe worked through it, you should work through it. Kobe played with a glove on when he had a messed up hand. When he popped his finger out of place, he popped it right back in and got right back on the court. So
I was saying the same thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing because everybody was talking about how Dame dislocated his finger on his less dominant hand. I was like, Kobe dislocated his finger on his right hand, his shooting hand, and still played through it.
He's going to go back and get it.
He hurt his finger.
Yes, he did. Oh, this is something you do not want to see, and he is hurting right now. This entire arena.
It's probably out of place, and he'll have head athletic trainer Gary Vitti put it back in place. You can see just there it went. As soon as he buckled his knees, it was a done deal.
So it's no excuse on whether or not if it's a minor one or a major one, because if you really want it, if you really determined, you're not gonna just set out. You're gonna actually, you probably gonna hear the doctors like, all right, you say I got this, okay. You still gonna try to tamper with it, work your way through it, and if you feel like you're good, you still gonna get there on that court. You're not gonna just sit out because the doctor told you to. Like, you seen how many high schoolers, like high school football players, get mad when a doctor told them, oh, I don't know if you should play this week because of your knee. They got mad. So if they have that same type of energy for a game, why can't you just have that same energy throughout your whole season? You know, I feel like Michael Jordan been that way from the beginning of his career all the way to the end. Even when he went to Wizards, he did his thing. He proved to people that I don't really need the Bulls. I still can play. I am the GOAT. I am Jordan. Even with just down to the business is successful. So,
to you and to Larry and Des, a lot of people who is countering that would say that Jordan played in a less era that had less skilled players. As of like, if you put Jordan now with Russell Westbrook, James Harden, like he might be getting crossed up. He probably not going 6-0 in the finals.
Do you really think that?
What do you guys say to that? I'm not those people, but I just want to
Oh,
know.
I mean, honestly, it's like saying if Larry Bird can play today's game. I feel like all in all, back then there was more aggressive.
Can Larry Bird guard Kevin Durant though? That's what they want. That's what they want to know.
I say Magic Johnson can.
Okay.
That's my rebuttal for that one. But overall, I feel like, of course, the dominant players back then could play today. They probably won't drop. I say they probably miss like 10 points from the overall stats, but that's pretty much it.
10 points. Are they still
10
Hall of
points.
Famers? Like if they score 18 points a game, they getting 8 a game? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that.
Are they still all-stars?
Also think now, because also now it's like how people play is more, they like grimier and they're like more, they attack the stronger person. And
now?
Yeah. Like I say even back then there was like that, but back then it was more, they was focused on the person. If they see somebody guarding one person, they're like, all right, let's do the double team. But today it's like, all right, let's do the whole team on one nigga damn it. So it's like, yeah. I didn't see that in a couple of games. So that's just from my point of view.
Okay, so to your point about athletes getting injured and playing, Larry, so are you familiar with Ronnie Lott, who played for the San Francisco 49ers?
Yeah.
You familiar with him?
Yeah.
So you know that the fact that he got part of his finger removed when it was broken so he could continue to play sooner, and he ended up regretting that. So up until what point is an athlete expected to play through an injury to be held to that GOAT status that you were just talking about?
Age-wise. When you reach a certain age where you know your body is no longer like able to do certain things, I feel like you need to sit out and just, take that jersey, let it get hung up, because after a while you gotta think smart, especially if you have a family, or especially like you got a bigger franchise. So I say it's all depending on your age. If you just got minor issues, then I feel like you can go at least to like 40, maybe 42. But if it's like major issues, then maybe mid-30s, you can set up.
I mean, you got to think, minor issues turn into major issues. Because I have, for example, I'm not a professional athlete, but I do have a history of recurring wrist injuries. And so it got to the point to where I had to take a month off last year from working out consistently. And then it got aggravated again. And then I had the sensation began to spread down to my elbow. So that's what I'm currently going through physical therapy for. And I've been out of the gym consistently for about 6 months now. So as a pattern I saw, if I had addressed this sooner, the injury would not have been that bad. So regardless of age, I think that's something to be considered, because when you're having a GOAT conversation, how could you really say someone's the GOAT if they don't have longevity? If you're going, to the max and you happen to play through an injury, yeah, it looks good. Like, it sounds good on the movie, but when your joints are deteriorating and your career is cut in half, that really detracts from your legacy. Also your satisfaction too, because ideally at somebody's playing at the top level, top tier, or performing consistently at that level, if you can't do that any longer, that's like death.
My rebuttal to that is understand, and I agree, because like I said, it's all about being smart about certain things in life. And I want to use Kobe. When Kobe realized that he was no longer like going to be fully healed, he sat out. And I bet he probably wished he could have did it better than what he did, but that's why you got to think, is it bigger than my career, or is it just bigger than a game? So I mean, yeah, so you got to look at it as, is it bigger than my career or a game? Because if you can sit out, get a heal right then and come back, then you can do that. You still can be a GOAT. I'm not saying that's taken away from your GOAT status. But at the same time, you shouldn't just sit out every small game. I mean, like small injury after every small injury. So like if it's just like you sprain your ankle, you can sit out like probably a week and play again, depending on the person and depending on how your body is. That's how I see it. That's how I look at it.
Daz, you gonna say something about about my question about Michael Jordan having a less weak competition?
Nah, I don't really buy into that because I think watching Last Dance really put everything in perspective. You don't get, like Kobe said, you don't get 5 rings without Michael Jordan. A lot of today, LeBron doesn't get his rings without Michael Jordan. Like if you sit back and you look at the highlights, and I remember there was one where LeBron was playing with the Heat and they were playing in Charlotte, and LeBron stole the ball on a bad pass and running down the court. As he dunks the ball, he looks Michael Jordan in the face as he's dunking it. Like, you don't get this generation's talent without Michael Jordan. Like, you can sit here and say, the era he played in. Is it his fault for exploiting terrible athletes in his era?
You don't get the pressure either because they always say LeBron James had the more pressure than Michael Jordan too. But Michael Jordan had set that standard for that pressure, really. That's how I feel about that.
Exactly, but Michael Jordan had the same pressure as LeBron. Like, if you actually sit back and you look at history.
Starting off, though. They say starting off coming into the NBA. Starting off coming to the
coming into the NBA, no, because
as he moved on,
he won that national championship at UNC, and he was going to a franchise that was dismal. Like, not everybody was still betting on Michael Jordan.
We wish he were 7'1", but he isn't.
Michael got to realize that he's not 7 foot, so he's not going to carry a team in the NBA.
Like, even if you look at Nike, for example, like Nike wasn't expecting the Jordan 1 to sell the amount of sneakers that it did. But I will say at the same time, though, like even in Last Dance, Michael Jordan took offense to his critics saying all Michael Jordan was known for was flashy dunks and scoring titles. Like, there was criticism there in itself, and he took that criticism and he made it personal. So, I mean, I think the closest thing that emulates Michael Jordan's ferociousness is Russell Westbrook.
He was one of those stretch fours.
Oh my goodness!
Like, as far as just flat out ferociousness, flat out like highlight plays, I'm taking everything personal. I'm going at your neck every game is Russell Westbrook. He might not be 7 feet tall to where he can take over the game in every single aspect, but Russ is going to give it to you every single game. Like, he can go 18 for 40, but he's still going to give it to you every single game. Like, I can't compare Kevin Durant to Michael Jordan. I can compare like it was said, I can compare Kevin Durant to maybe Larry Byrd. I'm gonna compare Michael Jordan to Magic. I'm not even necessarily like the full athletic skill set, but shooting wise, I'm gonna compare him as a tall, lanky 7-footer. I'm gonna compare him to Larry Bird. I'm gonna compare LeBron to Magic before I compare LeBron to Jordan, because we have a 6'9" guy that's able to run the point, who's going to get his assists and can score as well. He just scores way better than Magic could.
But question, don't they play different positions, or didn't they? Is that not taken in consideration? Because some positions have more responsibility in scoring points than others do. From my understanding, I'm not a basketball buff, but
LeBron is a 6'9" guy who can score and dribble. Magic Johnson was 6'9", but his scoring skill set wasn't as big, or was much bigger. His scoring skill set wasn't as big as his ability to run an offense and facilitate the ball. Like, he's one of the greatest facilitators ever. But I would say at the same time, Isaiah Thomas is one of the best, if not the best, true point guard ever.
It really depends on who you have at that position, Brian.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like, as far as scoring,
he played on a Lakers team that had Kareem and what was it, Sam Perkins?
James Worthy.
Yeah. But Sam Perkins was on one of those teams too.
It's possible. I'm not sure. Yeah. Kron, you got something to say about their
I kind of do like I appreciate the era comment just because you do kind of have to take that into consideration. I mean, I watched the Jordan documentary. It was very profound, very moving. But if you look at it, his biggest competition, he said, in the Western Conference was Clyde Drexler in Houston. And I mean, no disrespect to Clyde Drexler, but is he putting up 60 points in the Now League? I mean, I can't really see Clyde really in that. I mean, Hakeem, yes, I would definitely give you. He's one of those timeless players. And I feel like that's where it ties back into the GOAT conversation, because in a GOAT conversation can't really be timeless. Because who's to say 20 years from now, by the way, Josh, Luka Doncic just hit a game winner. Who's to say 10 years from now that he isn't the GOAT, or he hasn't, you know what I mean? Who's to say from now he doesn't have those accolades to put him in that position due to preference too, because younger kids are now watching him as younger kids watch Jordan, as younger kids as myself watch LeBron. So it really is a timeless conversation. But back to Jordan. I mean, look at it. He left the league, and then those 2 years that he left the league, who won the championship? The Houston Rockets. Wow. His best competition out the West. If you look at LeBron's competition over the year, he's played against dynasties. I mean, the Spurs. I'm talking Kevin Durant went and signed up with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. I mean, like, and to your argument about, sitting out games, LeBron, yes, I mean, he's in his 17th year in the league. I feel like he has that right to do so if he feels like it's going to affect his play. But you look at other players who are younger, Kawhi Leonard, he's doing the same thing, and he's about 5 years younger than him. So who's to say you don't know when to sit out or when to tell your body, it's time, and I still want to continue to be the best. So this is me performing at my best, me sitting out these games.
I got you.
So Josh, what were the qualities that make someone the GOAT? I don't think you gave us any.
No, I didn't. I didn't really have much on this as far as like certain qualities, because I do believe this is subjective and it means really different things to different people, to be honest with you. You don't think so?
There's a large element of subjectivity to it, but there's certain things depending on which domain you're in. For example, basketball, there's a certain amount of objectivity. Like you can compare stats, like we were just doing. Yes, you can. It's something that you do take into consideration. Otherwise, if somebody like these guys that you're saying
I thought you said it to me. I was like, what are you?
No, Desmond was shaking his head no, but this whole time, I'm not a basketball guy, so I really don't care about this. But this whole time, you guys have been having the discussion about those greats in particular. You've referenced the stats and their individual accolades, and so those in themselves, those are things rooted in objectivity. You can say that Michael Jordan won X amount of championships. So that's what I was saying. Like there is some amount of objectivity to it. Of course, there could be a rebuttal to it. You could say, well, he only won it because he was playing with these players on the team. Okay, you can say that, but you can't deny the fact that he has a championship. That's objective. So, Des, you could just rewrite history.
It's not a matter of me trying to nullify stats in itself. I think I don't necessarily bring in the full championship argument because there's plenty of people in the league that have rings. Like I say what I say in regards to the GOAT because well,
you said not
six?
I mean,
not 6 rings.
The person got 11
in the finals.
There's
Robert Horry.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's saying. Bill Russell has 11. Like,
yeah.
Reason why I strongly tie everything to eras is because even though obviously LeBron is doing unprecedented things, like I'm not calling Jerry West the goddamn GOAT. Like like I'm not calling Bill Russell the GOAT. Like there's things that these guys have done that are unprecedented that haven't been duplicated. But still, when it comes just down to grit, determination, and emotional intelligence, like I'm not putting nobody above Michael Jordan. Like just if I need something to motivate me, I don't even have to look at the full, 84, 85 to 93 or or 95 to 98. Like I can just watch literally 84 to 89 and be motivated to just go out and do whatever it is I need to be done. Like LeBron, he's great. Like I'm not necessarily saying he's great and that he doesn't compare, but I think when it comes to just what my standard of being the GOAT is, I think he pales in comparison to that.
That's Skip Bayless over here.
I mean, I'll never knock Michael Jordan. I mean, you can't deny the 6 rings. You can never deny that as the primary argument. However, I would just ask this: what do you say to the people that say, Jordan has lost in the first round playoffs before, compared to a player like LeBron who has never done that in his career? Not saying so much as the supporting cast so much. I really won't bring that argument into it too much, but right up until he joined teams with Scottie Pippen, he faced a couple first-round exits. What do you have to say to
he joined teams with Scottie Pippen? That's what he did?
No, I'm not using that excuse.
He just joined teams. Hey, Scottie, come on, let's go. Let's join teams.
I mean, what my rebuttal to that would be is based off of seeding. There's no doubt in my mind that, and you can pull it up because I don't want to be erroneous on this part, but there's no doubt in my mind that during those first round exits, they were not a top 3 seed in the East. Like they were more than likely 6th or 7th, losing to 1 or 2.
Going against a Celtics team that was looked at as a very, very good team.
Yeah. And didn't even in that instance, the first time they got knocked out of the first round, I just looked at some of the stats prior to this episode because I knew Jordan was going to be mentioned. But didn't he put up like 60 points?
Yeah.
That's still a record today.
Yeah,
put up
63, I think.
Yeah, against the Celtics.
And the L.
Yeah, in the losing effort.
Yeah, he lost too. Yeah.
Bro, had 15 had an L. What you mean?
When?
I'm a Cavs fan. I remember watching that game. Disappointed.
That's why he doesn't like LeBron. He's a Cavs fan.
No, I give LeBron respect, but if, like he said, comparison to Michael Jordan, the better comparison is Michael Jordan and Kobe. If anything, that's how I see it. That's the better comparison.
I would say, okay, so Karan, why did LeBron have to team up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh?
I mean, once you play 5, 6, 7 years with an organization and they've proven that they do not have the supporting cast to support you.
I think it was about 7 years, one, and in the 7th year.
Kobe didn't switch up at all.
7 years. 7 years with the Cavaliers.
I believe it was like 7 or 8 years that when he decided to switch. And
he even went to a finals by himself. With what supporting cast against the 2004.
But a lot of those regular seasons, if you look at it, a lot of those regular seasons, they was first in the East.
Who, the Cavaliers?
Yeah, the Cavaliers. They were first in the East to the point that I remember LeBron was taking nights off because they was doing so well.
Okay.
So when you get into the playoffs and you still like, oh, he doesn't have any help. Like, why were you guys first in the East then? He doesn't.
Well, Eastern Conference. When you're in the Eastern Conference, you're playing against. I mean, let's be honest. The Eastern Conference has been considerably weaker than the Western Conference throughout the past decade or so. I would
not
say.
In 2000.
Not 2004 to 2010.
Yeah, the Dwight Howard.
Let's look at that year.
No,
but let's look at that year. The Pistons, they win the championship, right?
What year are we talking about? What year are we talking about?
After the Panthers won the championship in 2005 when they beat Kobe Bryant.
Okay, keep going.
The year after, what happened in the playoffs?
I don't remember.
2000. You're talking about 2006. Dwayne Wade went.
No. 2-2.
You said
when the Cavaliers played Detroit in the playoffs.
Well, I guess
when they were reigning champs.
I guess LeBron did something spectacular.
45 points, 2-2, tied series in a hostile Detroit environment. Scores 29 of the last 30 points for them. I mean, takes over the game completely.
It was great.
That was definitely one of the most prolific performances I've ever seen.
From Bron?
Okay.
From Bron, for sure.
Okay.
From any All-Star in the past 2 years.
What? Not even when he was in Miami? I feel like Bron in Miami have more highlights than he does with the Cavs.
You could say that, but I'm saying like with the supporting cast he had, I mean, they were going against Tayshaun Prince, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups. Well, if you watch the film, him and Chauncey Billups were going at it, back and forth, bucket after another. Rasheed Wallace. You know what I mean? Like this caliber team that just won a championship together, proving that against that caliber team, it's just mano y mano. You're the only one that's scoring. That's considerable grace.
My rebuttal to what you said about his organization, Kobe didn't switch up at all.
Kobe had
at all.
Sure.
Only thing
He
Kobe
wanted to,
did
though.
switch
He
up
wanted
was
to,
his
though.
number.
He wanted to switch up, though.
Kobe had Shaq for the majority of his career. Is the only thing I would say about that. I love Kobe Bryant. I'm not knocking his career at all. I think he played tremendously even when he left Shaq. But, I mean, if you even watch the interview, he even said, I don't win these championships without Shaquille O'Neal. I don't think you can say that about one player that LeBron has played with. Maybe Dwayne Wade, but he's always been Finals MVP.
Because one thing I noticed about Bron, anytime somebody plays with Bron, either they have an attitude problem with him. I'm talking about as far as like after he after he left Miami and came back to Cavs. What I noticed, they have an attitude problem with him, or their stats is deteriorating. So, what do you have to say about that? Because J.R. was good.
He would say that Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr for no reason and he's weaker than him. That's what he would say about that.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I don't really know.
I can't give you the full credit on that. The whole Kobe had Shaq more than half his career. Like Kobe and Shaq were only together from what, 97, 98? They only had like 6 years together.
Only for 3 straight championships.
To be honest, he went to 3 straight finals without Shaq. He just lost to Boston because Boston did what LeBron did. LeBron did what he did in 2010 because of what Boston did in 2007, 2008.
What do you mean?
They got a franchise.
What do you mean what I mean?
What do you saying?
Kobe went to 3 straight finals without Shaq and lost to the big 3 Celtics. LeBron kept losing in the Eastern Conference Finals to that same big 3 Celtics. What did he do? He went to Miami to form the big 3 Heat, which then beat the big 3 Celtics. Like his 2006, his 2016 feat is the best. I would say best season. I don't want to give him this because I'm a big Golden State fan, and I felt like all the factors, everything lined up perfectly for him. Yeah, everything lined up perfectly for him with the Draymond Green suspension. But he beat the best Golden State team. Like I can't.
You can take that away.
Listen, no. Forget. Even if you take all of that away, if you take all of that away, I don't believe they're the best team ever. Like that Warriors team, I don't think they're the best team ever. They're not beating the Bulls. That's one.
They're not beating the Bulls, but as far as the best team, like from start to finish, they're not beating it. But I'm just talking about team in general.
Okay.
Like you haven't seen a team flow that fluidly for 82 games consecutively, and then in the playoffs. Like, yeah, they deserve to lose to OKC in that Western Conference Final. But I'm just talking about team play. Like I've never seen a team flow the way Golden State did as far as ball movement, as far as having 3 all-stars flow together cohesively. Because we saw the first 2 or 3 seasons with Miami, like you didn't know if it was Dwayne Wade's team or if it was LeBron's team. And Dwayne Wade had to literally say, it's your team, for this man to start taking over and doing what he needed to do when it mattered the most.
Nah, man, you Batman. Nah, I'm Robin. You Batman, bro. I'm Robin. No, God damn it.
So, like regardless of how good Scottie Pippen was, there was never is this Michael's team or if it was Scottie's team. Like,
but I know you mentioned that it wasn't that much on really accomplishments, but I do feel that for me it takes like short, sweet. Like for me, it takes accomplishing the most through adversity without the least amount of blemishes on your resume, I would say. And that's why I was kind of a little shocked when you said Floyd. I was like, because you know how much of an Ali person I am. So
yeah, I think you say Ali at least.
Oh yeah,
but I just feel like Ali went through more adversity than Floyd really went through. Of course, you could probably bring up that he came back and Ali lost when he probably should have retired when he retired too late or whatever. But you can like how much of that is just passion. Like the only thing Michael Jordan, I guess you could say. Michael Jordan retired when he knew how to, but at the same time, there was factors in play at that. You know, Jerry Krause, the owner not wanting to
Yeah.
have everybody together and everything like that. Phil Jackson.
I don't knock nothing against Ali. I think hubris was his biggest downfall. I think he was a very hubris person. But I mean, he's spectacular. I don't think you get Floyd without Ali, but I'm gonna just say at the same time, Floyd did it flawlessly besides the Marquez first fight. Like, undoubtedly. You can't find one blemish on Floyd, one official blemish on Floyd's resume. Like, for me, I look at Muhammad Ali, and I look at the social advocacy. I look at everything he did, sticking to his guns and truly willing to die for what he believed in. But I'm not going to take that and apply it to the GOAT conversation as far as when it comes to your skill set, because hubris was his downfall when it comes to boxing, not just life and social advocacy. Hubris was his downfall in boxing, period. Remove everything else. He did not want to lose, even when he was clearly losing.
Okay.
He took way too much punishment. Way too much punishment. Nothing else. He was truly dedicated to his skill, the way you'd expect somebody to be dedicated to their skill and to their passion. But hubris, as far as not knowing how to go out when it was time for him to go out.
Okay. All right.
I would say same thing with Kobe. Like, Kobe probably could have retired 2 years early, if we're being honest.
Yes.
If we're being completely honest, after that Achilles injury, he could have retired that season or the season after. I think he came back and played two more, either one more season or 2 more seasons after that.
And we would have missed that 60-point bomb by Kobe at his final night.
He has been great. And on his final night, it's one last glimpse of greatness.
It probably would have came earlier.
Once he knew. Yeah, once he knew.
Josh, did you ever answer a question about who's your GOAT? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Who was my GOAT?
Yeah.
When Desmond was talking about GOAT, as for he put Floyd Mayweather over even Jordan, but I wasn't really thinking about mixing sports together. So of course it's Michael Jordan as far as basketball. As far as football, I would say Tom Brady. I have less knowledge with other sports rather than basketball. I don't really know much about baseball. Boxing, I would say, is Muhammad Ali. Tennis, I would say Serena Williams. I don't have that much knowledge of actual tennis, though. But I, as far as like one actual goal, I haven't really actually thought about that, though. But what you going to say, Brian?
That wasn't the intention where you'd have one solitary individual, like the greatest person on the planet to ever walk. Like that wasn't the intention. Like what we're doing right now is fine with you guys listing off people in their respective domains and justifying, which I think you satisfied. I think you went with Ali initially, right?
Yeah, Ali for boxing, definitely.
Got you. For the initial list of traits and qualities, something that I feel like, first of all, I feel like we use the term GOAT far too flippantly. Like in certain discussions, I think, Larry, when you guys did an episode of your podcast, you had some guests on there and you guys were talking about the different GOATs of music and there's different genres. And so I was thinking, I disagreed mainly because, for one, my music taste is different, but you broke into subgenres. So like drill music and trap music. And then so I was thinking like the greatest of all time, but some of these genres are only a few years old. So, and with you being the GOAT of anything, I feel there's a degree of, so these are the qualities I had: excellence, innovation, longevity, and evolution. And so for you to be the GOAT at anything, you have to be able to consistently evolve. So that's why I look at my GOAT. I say Jay-Z.
I don't know what you take me as, or understand the intelligence that Jay-Z has. I got 99 problems, but a ain't one. Hit me.
Because you look at how he was rapping on Reasonable Doubt, and then you look at, for example, Blueprint 3 and 444. He raps entirely different, even though it seemed like he might have simplified his flow, which he didn't, because it's chock full of like double entendres with, or even quadruple, because he says more with less. And so he has never really been stale. And so if you look at something else that a lot of people really don't consider to be a legitimate sport, it's because it's scripted wrestling. So there's several GOATs there. Like, for example, the Undertaker, for his commitment to the gimmick.
Undertaker! Here comes it coming!
His commitment to kayfabe, like I was saying. And then also like Chris Jericho, he embodies what it is to like consistently. These guys, between the two of them, Chris Jericho and Undertaker, both of them have about 30 years respectively in the wrestling business. And so for you to be consistent across the board and keep fans' interest, you have to evolve and change your gimmick. And it's fairly evident because when people don't do that, the crowd reacts. And so when you're getting booed, but like you look at somebody like Chris Jericho, for example, he has the ability to get over simple things as like a list. He had a list that he would come out, like people pissed him off, and he would put their name on the list, and people was reacting to that. He was able to get that over. And so then when he left WWE and went to New Japan recently, like past few years, he became the Painmaker, so he switched his gimmick again. Then he went to AEW and became their first world champion, and then he was like Le Champion. So he's consistently changed his character across the board. And even though, you take into consideration his physical condition, and so what you're saying about athletes getting injured, so he doesn't move around the same way he does when he was 25 years old. He doesn't. He wrestles different. And the same thing could be said about Ric Flair, because when he broke his back in that plane crash in 1975, he had to drastically change his style. He used to be like a heavier bruiser kind of guy, and then so he wrestled at a significantly smaller weight. So that I say that to say that a qualification for you to be the great at what you do, there's an element of longevity, and then also the evolution. Because if you just find out something that works for you and you have a niche, you're essentially a one-trick pony. And it's like, okay, you're good now, but how long can you keep that up? That's why, for example, I wouldn't say that Biggie Smalls or Tupac were the greatest of all times when it comes to rap music. I'm not no knock against them. Like they could be great artists, but I'm not gonna say they're the greatest of all time.
Who agrees with Brian?
On what point?
The Jay-Z point.
I mean, look at it. Okay. I'll let you go through that first. Then I'll justify the Jay-Z.
Who?
I'm asking. Does anybody disagree or?
All right. I'm piggyback to what he said. Then I'm hit the Jay-Z. All right. So, far as drill, I can agree with you. There was more of earlier aspect, and that was just me talking, catering to the guests, and also you can say far as trap music that's been around since the 90s, and it has elevated because Outkast was the first people to actually introduce trap to the world, but people didn't look at it as trap, but it was really that was explaining trap music. Even I done a paper on this, so even breaking it down, you can necessarily say like it is different genres of who's the GOAT, because you can't just say Andre is the GOAT, but Big Boy's not a GOAT, because together they are GOATs. Outkast, that's a group, that's a duo. So if you do put that in a genre, it's like, all right, who's the best group? Who's the greatest of all times when it comes to groups? You can split that up and say, oh, I mean, I don't know. People today might say Migos, but that's a false statement. But I'm just throwing the name out there. And far as with the Jay-Z, I see Nas is lyrically is better than Jay-Z.
You said lyrically is better than Jay-Z.
Yeah, but actually marketable is Jay-Z. Like actually being that face that everybody wants to see and everybody's going to listen to is more of Jay-Z, due to the fact of how he carried himself throughout the years with his own brand, with Rockefeller, with some of the people.
You said who's more lyrical?
He's saying that Nas is more lyrical, but Jay-Z was more marketable. I would even say that I think that they're probably on par with each other. That's a really hard choice to call. Yeah, lyrically.
And to these niggas, I'm like Windows 7. You let them tell it, they swear that they invented you.
Niggas fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. Guess it's just the fury of man became a monster.
Like Jay-Z is no slouch. We're not gonna act like he is.
I'm not saying it's like by a long run. It's like they neck and neck, but if I had to choose, it's more of Nas.
But you're onto something. With you listing his business accolades and his marketability, Jay-Z's business acumen makes him who he is. So in the rap industry, that's something to like earlier when Karan was talking about the basketball player, I forget who it was, and you were saying, or LeBron James, talking about his projects, his works outside of basketball, attributing to him being the greatest of all time. But with rap music and what I'm saying about Jay-Z with his business accolades, his legacy, who he built up with Roc Nation, like all that contributes and is directly related to his rap career. Like that was the foundation of it. Like Roc Nation became something greater, and it was all based on him coming from the Marcy Projects, dropping Reasonable Doubt, and then moving forward and dropping consistent albums, and then consistently influencing the sound of rap music. Like you think about the legacy that he had just from like the introduction of Kanye West, and then J. Cole, for example, I remember when he first brought him out for A Star Is Born, when they brought him out on stage. And that was literally A Star Was Born. You see how influential J. Cole has become. And then you see how many rappers reference Jay-Z as their all-time great, or the reason that they do, or it's like a stylistic influence. Like even Drake was, he's not exactly in the same vein as Jay-Z, but he said he never cried when Pac died, but he will when Jay-Z does. I think that was the bar he dropped in whatever song that was. But so I say his Jay-Z in the rap game his influence has been so all-encompassing, from his rap endeavors, his label continuation, his legacy from that, his influence, and then also his business acumen. And I can't say that any other rapper has done exactly what he has done. Like there's other people in the same tier or that conversation, but I just think that he does it so much better. Because you could say Puffy, for example, like Diddy. Diddy's not a lyricist.
He a producer though.
Yeah, I get that. But Diddy also rap, but you would never say like in the
Just
same
like saying
conversation.
Birdman.
Yeah, exactly. My point. So you have to have some kind of constraint. So if you break it down to a subcomponent of the rap conversation, you have to take that into consideration. So it's like they have stats. Same way in basketball. It's a lot more subjective actually. But a component of that is their rapping ability. And so Diddy is nowhere near Jay-Z when it comes to rapping ability. No one's gonna dispute that. To your point, Birdman is nowhere near either of them in their rapping ability. It's just like those are undeniable truths. I mean, there is, like I said, music has a lot of subjectivity to it, but lyrical ability, you can make a really strong case to argue different gradations between artists.
Yeah, different especially with the eras, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was that's what I was doing for that podcast. I was just seeing how they would look at it. I didn't really put my 2 cents into it, but it was mainly how they would look at it. Because, I mean, you can say Kanye West is, like, for our, like, you know, generation, at least, is, like, can be, like, looked at as Jay-Z. Because he influenced a lot of people with his sound, plus his brand, and his music speaks for itself. He evolved over the years plenty of times. So
yeah, and that's the evolution component that I was referencing. And then like I'm not gonna harp and chime in with the fact that okay, if you didn't have Jay-Z, then you would have Kanye, because okay, while that may or may not be true, you have to think that the individuals who are more influenced by Kanye West and have that the same sonic influence. So like Kid Cudi, he's a lot closer to Kanye West than he is to Jay-Z. So I wouldn't even consider that a direct influence. So I don't even think that's even worth mentioning. That's why I'm not gonna do it.
I mean, that's like Big Sean and being signed to I mean, yeah, Big Sean is closer to Jay-Z, but he's signed to Kanye.
Yeah, but I'm saying in terms of their skill or their style, he's more related to which of them?
That's kind of hard because he is influenced by both of them. So you can say Big Sean's more of that one, that stalemate that's in the middle, because he even like admitted to it plenty of times that he even looked up to Kanye and Jay. But if you doing a comparison, I can just say his style mainly is Kanye in my eyes.
Does
what how are you coming to that conclusion? Like, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Got something to say, Does? I'm sorry, Brian. You over here hopping in your chair like you a bunny rabbit. You good?
I'm straight.
To answer the question,
I'm just
lyrically,
ready.
Big Sean is closer to Jay-Z.
Yeah,
But
I was
he
thinking that.
faces the Jay-Z dilemma to where Kanye is his producer. And because Kanye has more influence over his artist's sound, whereas with Jay-Z, Kanye was the artist and the producer, whereas roles are reversed. Big Sean is the artist and Kanye is the producer and the big wig. He can make Big Sean's sound more, I think you described it as sonic, to fit a Kanye build. But I think we're seeing as Kanye, I think it just came out. I'm surprised people don't know this already, but I think it was either Royce the 5'9" or CyHi the Prince wrote
The Prince.
CyHi.
Yeah, wrote Kanye. I mean, this isn't like we can't put Kanye. We can if you choose to, but we can't put him in the GOAT tier if he. I mean, ghostwriting. I'm not gonna say ghostwriting eliminates you from it, but we can't sit here and say he's on par with Nas and Jay-Z when a lot of his when you pull his credentials as far as lyrical genius, because I'm not going to discredit him 100% because College Dropout is flawless to me, Graduation is flawless to me, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is flawless to me, and then if you want to be on some emo, if you want to be on your emo train, then
808 Heartbreak.
What is it? 808 and Heartbreaks is a really good album as well. So he's put out solid, consistent projects. But at the same time, though, like I think he's falling into the hubris where he's not ready to go, but it would be time for him to go. But his sound is so damn good that he can't go. But as far as like just credibility, like these things are going to factor into the GOAT debate. Like you can't just sit here and cut off his career when he continued to produce music,
right?
Because all of that stuff is going to come full circle.
You saying Kanye can lose that edge to produce music? Is that what you're saying? And so he should like step away? Is that basically
or to make a single?
Are you saying Kanye's losing that edge to make music or good music?
What is that edge per se? Like ghostwriting?
That's what I thought you were saying, that he was losing an edge, so he should like step away.
You're saying, he's saying that
undoubtedly.
So you're saying that we should look at the artist differently for having ghostwriters, which I do agree. I think that was, if you were talking about the same interview with CyHi the Prince, yeah, because you can't, because with rap, so the argument is made with other genres such as R&B or country or rock, like no one cares if somebody has a song written for them because it's kind of implied. We know that that Brian Michael Cox will write for Trey Songz, and he has, you'll see like inside the album cover, you see that singers are known to have people who write the songs for them. They just deliver it. But with rap, there's a certain, like I was saying, an implication that the person you're rapping about certain stuff you actually lived and using your genuine skill. Like you might have somebody who tells you this doesn't work or this doesn't sound good or something like that, but it really reflects on the person. That's at least the perception that we have of what it is to be a rapper. And so when you have somebody who has ghostwriters, for example, like Drake caught a lot of slack for that. I think that is something that needs to be considered. The fact of, like, could you really be the greatest rapper of all time if you have somebody else pen it for you? I mean, with CyHi and Kanye, CyHi is one of the best lyricists. Like his penmanship is A1. Like I've been saying that for years now, and I'm pretty upset with he hasn't got the amount of exposure that he necessarily had. That I feel like he deserves, or I would like to see him have a bigger platform. He was a nominee for
best album before he dropped his album.
I think CyHi falls in the same boat as Neyo though. Like Neyo has written a lot of hits, and he just collects his check silently in the background. Like I don't necessarily think that exposure is what CyHi has wanted. Like undoubtedly, he probably would appreciate it, but it's not what he's in the game for. Mm-hmm. Whereas like it was blatantly obvious with Kanye when you listen to the Jay-Z flashbacks of like Kanye standing on the table and saying, he wants to be the greatest, this, that, and the third. Like Kanye was not only in it for the music aspect, but he was in it for the accolades and the exposure. Whereas you can look at CyHi and that's not the case.
And even how he speaks about his position within good music, it seems to be he's relatively content. Mm-hmm. And not saying the fact he doesn't want to release music or anything like that, because as an artist, you definitely want to. But he also understands that his work as a writer is still valuable, and he seems to be eating pretty good off of that. Like it doesn't bother him the fact that he's writing for Kanye or other artists.
Would you, Des? Do you think Jay-Z is the best
Period of Nas.
compared to Nas?
Oh yeah. So,
What?
because you have the thing when he said, as an MC, they're on par. I would definitely give Nas the edge over Jay-Z lyrically and as an MC. What you mean? Why? Like,
Why?
I want an explanation.
Why?
I look at it this way: to strengthen your argument.
He explained it to me. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. To strengthen your argument, Jay-Z, he got what he got because he showed himself as a mafioso. Like he has really good penmanship, but the fact that he put himself out there as this mafioso, whereas Nas was still presenting himself as the street corner lyricist, people are going to gravitate towards that mob boss image and that mafioso image that Jay-Z is presenting in comparison to what Nas is presenting. Like we have to look at it. Illmatic is a flawless album. It's flawlessly written. It's flawlessly produced.
Brian,
but when we look at
better.
Nah, I'm not knocking Nas.
But when we look at straight up penmanship, it was flawlessly written. Like it's in the name. Like it was written was his second album. But this debate happens to this day. Like I was having this debate with people on Twitter back in 2011, 2012. It is still happening to this day that people are saying It Was Written is better than Illmatic because of the lyrical content that was in it. And It Was Written was a longer album than Illmatic. So the fact that people can take something that was flawlessly written and produced over 10 songs and then compare it to something that was 14, 15, maybe I think it was like 16. But 16 songs all together and say, okay, well shit, over this entire written album, it might be better than the one that was 10 songs because you have a larger sample size. Therefore, it's easier to fuck up. Whereas if you have that smaller sample size and everything's perfect, then you could just take it. But you have that larger sample size and you're telling me that everything was flawless in this sample size. Like you can't beat that. Like, don't get me wrong, Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, they're all very good lyrically, but when we're talking about straight up MC, and Nas came in the game, what was it? Streets Disciple, my raps are a trifle. I shoot slugs from my brain just like a rifle. Stampede the stage, I leave the microphone split. Play Mr. Tuffy while I'm on some pretty tone shit. Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Like Jay-Z is saying the lyrical shit like that. Come on, bro.
Des.
Oh my. Jay-Z is not on that level. You never. Nope. Never.
And with me, it's like with Jay-Z, he's more of a slit, like he said, like the mobster. He come in with that slit talk, and there, of course, everybody gonna gravitate towards that. And it's just, I just know what I heard, far as New York State of Mind, is just too much, bro. He just put that too well. It was just like painting, and it just came out beautifully. Like,
have you heard Ether, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay. So to clear things up, I'm not ignorant of Nas. I know who he is. I've heard his music. It's just there's a discrepancy into who we feel is superior, and I agree to disagree.
Wait, so Des, do you think overall Nas is better overall, or just
no? To say that Nas is better than Jay-Z overall is to discredit my Floyd Mayweather argument. Like Jay-Z literally, he really changed the game as far as the artist and the money, the same way Floyd changed the game in regards to the boxer and the money. Like,
yeah, because if you break it down, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say even what he's doing like behind the scenes, present day, like he's still changing. Like even the 444, like what that shit. What did he do with was it Sprint or T-Mobile to where it was platinum before it even released? Like he's a genius in regards to
I thought it was title, yeah.
My question in regards to Nas, like I'm not trying to get little nickel and dimes, no pun intended, because that is a Jay-Z song. I'm not trying to do that to Nas, But so would you say, Desmond, you said Nas's album just came out yesterday, right?
2 days ago.
How much would you say he has evolved over the span of his career?
I think he really made the evolution when Life is Good came out.
Exactly.
Like
when Life is Good
came out, when Life is Good came out, he was no longer rapping about the old, like what you would have heard on N or even Godson or Stillmatic. Like he's actually rapping about like real life shit now, about what it's like to be a father, what it's like to lose your wife the way he did with Khalees and all that stuff. Like he's able to encompass all this together now, and he's essentially showing you what it means to be an introverted lyricist MC that came from where he came up and now where he's presently at in his life.
Even his beats production too, though.
Exactly. Like
don't say his beat production, his selection has changed. I mean, definitely, because for sure. Like when Kanye produced that last album that he had, and I mean, we're gonna conclude that
it was alright.
Yeah, say what you want about it, but the beats were definitely like they weren't anything that you would have heard Nas rapping about 10 years prior to that. Like that was always been a classic argument against Nas. They were saying his beat selection was weak, but like Josh just did a review for Hate Me Now, and that's like one of my favorite beats of all time. So I mean, I guess he just picked a good one at that point in time, but that's I guess that is something to take into account when it comes to Nas's evolution.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
Larry? No, we testing on a lot of stuff. I like this.
Ron?
This is nice.
Man. Des?
Nah, man, we good.
All right. You mentioned your album of the week?
Yeah. It's King's Disease. It's Nas's latest studio album. Give it a listen to, man. Like it reminds me of when Life is Good came out, because it's one of those, like the shit he talks about in it, it's current. Like I enjoy it.
All right.
I enjoy it.
Thank you, Karan and Larry, for coming on the podcast. Please come back, of course, okay?
Of course, man.
If you guys like the discussion, don't forget to hit the like button. We're going to see you guys next week. Peace.
Oh, hey, I didn't even see you there. But while you're here, be sure to check out other great content from the Breakdown crew, including previous episodes of the podcast, Joshua vs. Movies, Joshua vs. Music, and of course, haven't forgotten about my plant lovers, Feel the Love. Just check out this begonia.